Hey guys, welcome back. We are excited to be here today. We have found out some awkward news today, and we figured that we would dive into what is kind of going on around us. There is a heavy feeling that I think that we're all feeling right now. And as much as we had a full episode planned, we honestly just were like, we kind of need to talk about some of this stuff right now. Like, as real as we need to be, it's heavy. So, Kyle, how are you doing?
She's hanging in here. She's been on an emotional roller coaster, but she's here. And I think too, like we said, we had a whole episode planned. We kind of threw a wrench in that about 10 minutes ago. I think it's a great perspective to kind of talk about because you're in Canada, I'm in the United States. Like there is this trade battle that has just begun this morning between our two countries. So it is kind of an interesting perspective to be talking about this from each side's perspective. Not that either of us support that, but
I mean, both being in both places, I just think that there's just waking up this morning and realizing the reality of what's happened is actually pretty scary. It's scary just as a citizen, and it's scary as a business owner. It's scary to think of what this is going to hold for our future for not only Canada and the US, but the rest of the world. It's just a very scary feeling.
No, it really is. And this morning I got up at a.m. to start getting ready to film or whatever, but I've had to slowly kind of not look at things because it'll drive me crazy. So I hadn't looked at a thing. I was like, I got to be in the right frame of mind to see what the daily chaos is. And so when I opened the phone with you, you were like, girl, oh my God. And it is hard because you guys do have a business that is based around food. And there is this huge issue of, is there going to be food shortages? Is it going to be overwhelmingly expensive? What's going to happen with that? I went to the store 2 weeks ago and bought 25 pounds of rice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a caterer, it's kind of one of those things where you set a price, let's say somebody's doing a wedding, let's say. We kind of negotiate a price and we do everything. And what's scary right now is that the prices that we have set reflect the cost in which we need to pay for everything. And when these weddings are 6 months out, a year out, it's what is that going to look like at that time? Do you know what I mean? Because it's not going to look like what it was when we made the quote.
Well, exactly.
So,
yeah.
It is. And that's just one small element of it, really. I mean, the whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm scared for it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think we've heard this for months, but for it to actually happen today is a bit of chaos. And that's the thing too, is not only or is it the issue of weddings and the cost and all that kind of stuff too, but if those people's businesses are being disrupted, those people's finances are being disrupted, are they even going to have the weddings? Are they going to even have the events while all of this is going on? And I know from this perspective as a trans person, it's been a crazy week. It's really been a crazy week. And with messing with passports, it's not so much just the validation of it saying a gender or something like that. Passports are your safety. Passports are your ability to exit or to get to somewhere else. And so to take that away is a very big issue. And there's a lot of things happening with passports with trans people that really aren't even being reported, but people are having issues with their passports being completely confiscated or not issuing new ones. And that's a pretty big issue.
And I feel like it's just, I don't even have words for it, to be honest. I remember Kyle and I spoke earlier this week, and she was telling me about an incident where someone had gone on and reported that a trans woman had her passport taken from her and all of her documents. And what does that look like for you? How are you directly feeling about that? I would be terrified. And I just think,
I will say this. One, this week I started different estrogen. So I was taking pills and now I'm switching to injections. And with injections, it's good because I have a month supply, but I've been told that month supply will actually last a few months. So I'm kind of getting stocked. I'm going to get stocked up. But also, here I am, literally switching my entire hormones out as this is happening. So I've been on an emotional roller coaster I think when I was talking to you last Monday, I was like, but I forget what day it was, but I was like going a million miles a minute. I was on a high with the hormones. And then last night I was like, oh, I'm stuck upside down on this roller coaster right now. But it's really scary. And I do worry. And I'm at that place where I'm like deciding, what do I do? What do I do? You know what I mean? Like, I know Canada will take me in, but is that safe? You know? So I'm like, do I go through Mexico? Do I whatever? And I hate to think about that, but I think I'm at a point right now where I do have to start to think about how can I get out if I needed to, you know? And I think there was a sense of security that I had in California, but I feel like that's kind of been ripped from me with other things that's happened in the last week or so. So I don't really know. It just is really uncertain. I will say this. Trans people have existed through the worst of times, and we carry on. You know what I mean? It's like there's been multiple times in history where our existence has been tried to be wiped out, and it never works because here we still are, you know? And I think sometimes what people miss in the beginning of World War II with the mustache man, trans people were the first to go. You know, they were the first to be rounded up. Berlin had one of the biggest trans surgery centers in the world in the 1920s, and that was burned to the ground. The Library of Studies was burned to the ground. And so knowing that, it's scary of everything that's happened in the last week. And the fact that it's been happened so fast is alarming. And then on top of that, you have like, what is this going to do to us financially? So it is that thing of like, how can I really think about leaving the country or fleeing when all our finances may be messed up?
It's a mess. No, I just think right now, I think that now is a time, especially if you are a transgender person, like right now is the time where you really just need to nurture yourself and you need to get the support that you need, whether that be from a close friend, whether that be from your therapist, whatever it is. You need to be nurturing your mental health right now, and you need to. I can't even directly say because I don't know what you are exactly feeling right now. It's just, you know, my heart goes out to everyone right now because I just think it's heartbreaking, and I just think right now is the time where you just need to lean on your community a bit and stick together and just right now, just dive into the support that you need. You need to have support. You're not alone in this, and we want you to know that. And I think that's kind of why today we were just so compelled to talk about it. We normally, when we get together in the morning before our episode, we're so hyped, we're ready, we're excited. And today we were just like, this is just not the time. Like there was just no excitement in us, and I think that we're both a little bit defeated. So I don't really have any words. Like I'm scared for Canada. Like we've always been protected by the United States. We've always been, you know, happy besties with the United States. And now this is like a pretty big thing. Like Canada's threatening to shut off New York's power.
And you're going to New York this weekend.
Going to New York tomorrow. Yes. And again on Friday. Like I'm there twice this week, and I'm just like, I'm scared to travel a little bit. Like I'm nervous of what this is going to look like this week for me, because I don't want to be in the state and my country's shutting off your power. You know what I mean? Like it was Michigan, New York, and I forget the other one.
Wisconsin, I think.
Wisconsin, yeah.
Which is crazy because where I'm from, Ohio, it sits directly between New York and Michigan. And across there, like somehow they're in the clear, I guess, for now. But that is an interesting perspective of it, too, is that you do work in both countries and travel between the two, even though it's just such a short distance between Toronto and New York, but it is that different country. And then for you to be traveling back and forth while there's conflict between our countries. And I think for me, I'm worried because we now have beef with Canada, Mexico, Denmark, Colombia, Panama. And so it is this worrying sense of like what everything's being uprooted and everything's uncertain, and we just don't know what's going to happen next, you know? And some things, and the thing is sometimes there's been issues that's been like dramatic and crazy and brought down the house, and then the next day they're reversed. So who even knows what's going to happen from day to day?
I'm scared for the airlines. Like, I honestly am, like, thinking of like Air Canada and like the big major airlines in which I'm flying on. I'm like, if things start, what is this going to look like, honestly? Like, no. And I'm not trying to put that out there. I'm not trying to, but that's what I'm scared about.
Yes. So then, like, cutting off like travel between the two, is that what you're saying? Or
travel or like just anything. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's not a very, like, it's an unsettling feeling now that this has happened, and I'm directly traveling tomorrow, and then I'm directly traveling Friday, and I'm just unsettled. So my anxiety is naturally just like, okay, well, what about the airlines? Like, what about this? What about that? Are they gonna let me in? What is this gonna look like? So it's just tricky.
Yeah.
Really tricky. And I mean,
and luckily I think
about like what I'm feeling and what I'm going through as a Canadian, not directly in the midst of it. So my fears and my things, they're valid, but it's not even on the grand scale of what you're going through right now. So it's like, I can't imagine the anxieties that you're having. And
no, I mean, it's not a competition and it's not comparable. It just, they're separate things, but also they're the same thing. There is, we're worried about finances, we're worried about food, we're worried about all of those things. And it's just an uncertainty. You know what I mean? Like that's the biggest thing is we don't know what's coming. We don't know what's next. And it's unsettling to, a lot. And it's just frustrating. And I can't even have the words for it. I don't even have the words. And I also I think about, like, just like you're going to New York, and luckily the state government of New York is going to be on your side. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially in California too, they're on our side. And I think about people in my position in other states that are not going to try to protect them at all. And I worry about travel to see my family. I don't know if, when I saw them a few months ago, I knew that there could be a chance that I wouldn't be coming back for a long time. And so I do worry about travel, but I don't know if it's going to be safe. I don't know if it's going to be.
It's taking a risk, because at this point you really don't know. Are they going to revoke your passport? Like, no, yours isn't set to be renewed or anything. Or
well, there is the concern of the passport, because I don't have because now in the U.S. you have to have a real ID, which is the federal document identification. But I can't do any sort of paperwork with the federal government, because I could possibly have my passport taken, my identification taken from what's happened. That's a chance. But also, what I was telling you earlier is, like, flying, I have to, hand over like the TSA or federal agents. And so that is a concern. But my concern is the safety while I'm there. Even if I drove there, even if I got there perfectly safe, the government there is not going to protect me. I am seen as something else. But not only that, the local government of my hometown is definitely not going to protect me in any way. And all it takes is one person to accuse me of something, to say something, and I could easily be arrested or whatever. And that's a fear I've always had when I'm there. And it is just, so there's a lot of the what ifs, you know what I mean? And these are all what ifs. And it does, I feel for other people that are in positions where they're extremely vulnerable.
Yep.
Yeah. But we ain't getting those carrots. We're not going to be able to get carrots from your hometown.
You're not. What is that going to look like for Bradford? What is that going to look like for my hometown?
Yes.
Because we're not paying. Like, we don't have to worry about that. It's like no one's buying from us.
Yeah.
It's like the majority of our economy, like, gone. Like, you guys are going to be missing out. Like,
yeah, we ain't getting those carrots.
Like, say goodbye to your Aritzia. Say goodbye to your Lululemon. Like, it's going to be extra expensive,
Yeah.
Like, just making light, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you want to get into your highlights and lowlights?
Yeah, you're all going to go blind without our carrot.
What about the girls who eat all the carrots to stay tan?
Oh my God, stop. Yeah, they're going to be pale, ghostly soon.
I'm gonna have to guard I'm gonna have to guard my garden with a shotgun. Get away from my tomatoes.
You don't even know how lucky you are right now to have this community garden. Like you,
Yeah.
girl.
All I gotta say is we got 12-foot fences with barbed wire.
Yeah. This garden is like serving actual purpose this season.
No, literally. Because I got my 25 pounds of rice. I got 10 pounds of beans. I got
a rice and beans.
like 20 pounds of potatoes.
Gotta make do. And here's the thing though, is that you and I, because we grew up in such small towns, we can take a little and make a lot. Like we can do a full feast off of like 3 ingredients and have it last for time. Like we know how to make a supper, you know?
Oh yeah, big old supper.
Like dinner, meal prep, like we're making suppers.
Yeah.
We know how to do it, you know?
Yes. A big old supper. And that's the thing too. I grew up in a huge family, very poor. So she knows how to make some things last. I am going to have to figure out how to can. I need to start canning some beans and vegetables that I grow.
Just freeze them.
Yeah, but I don't have a big freezer. That's the problem. I need a deep freeze.
You need a deep freeze.
I need
You
a deep freeze.
Freeze everything. They say that frozen vegetables are the healthiest vegetables.
Yeah, because it locks them in at like freshness.
And it goes straight from like farm to bag. And it's in there, nothing's touched.
Exactly.
The safest vegetable.
They don't have to spray it with preservatives or anything like that. We're just going to have to like kick out the kitchen table out of the apartment and just put a deep freeze right there.
Yes.
Just set up the table on top of the deep freeze.
Yes. Oh my God.
And where I grew up too, like we would go halvesies with a cow.
Yeah.
And you throw that in the deep.
You put that in the deep freezer wrapped in your pink paper. I know.
Exactly. Yes. You know. Get that.
No.
Get those suppers.
That meat, that real cow. I think like a full cow one. So I'm sorry.
Yes.
No, my highlight. Oh, wait. Imagine your garden drama come this spring.
Oh, girl. I'm gonna have to.
You're doing so many community hours now.
Mm-hmm. She's ahead on hours.
No, like your garden. What do they call it? Warden.
The garden master.
And then your garden headmaster. She's gonna be putting you to work.
To work, yes. I met this guy. There was this guy, like I was like gardening yesterday. I was like pulling weeds, and this guy just rolls up and standing behind my fence, and he was like, "Hello," and I was like, "Hi,
Yeah.
hi," and he's like, "Come over here." I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "What's your name?" And I'm just like so freaked out. I was like, "Why is this guy interrogating me? What does he want?" And he was so serious. And I think what it was is because I think that like the hands of power and mastership of the garden is kind of switching over a little bit right now. And so this guy has came back to get things in order.
Oh,
I guess.
Well,
but he was like...
Everyone complained about the garden headmaster. And so now they're kicking her out. And then this guy's coming back in.
Yes, but also she's like 85. Like she needs to chill a little bit. You know what I mean? It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of stress running the garden over there.
Wow. They ain't seen nothing yet.
Ain't seen nothing.
You ain't seen nothing yet. I'm going to get all the calls about the garden.
But there's a rule, like you have to live within 5 miles of the garden. So this guy, before he told me that like he was kind of coming in to help manage things, he was like, "Where do you live at? Where do you do this?" And I was just like, who the f- is this person?
I'm like, can you not? My God.
And then he was like, "What do you know about gardening?" And I was like, my family's been farming in the U.S. for hundreds of years. And so it's just like, he's like, "Oh, it's in your blood." But I think I won him over. Like, I think he really liked me. And he gave me a very firm, strong handshake. My gardening gloves on and all.
Damn. You know what? I shook somebody's hand the other day. And I was in my head, I was like, I gave the weakest handshake. Like,
Yeah.
I put like a wet noodle in. So I put a hand out and I was like, whatever. Like, Like, I don't know. I don't
That's me too. I don't like it. Like I give a week. Like
like squeeze your hand. Like, ow.
I know.
Like,
I know.
oh,
No, I don't like that.
middle fingers. Like, no, I like I'm here and like doing a hard handshake. Like, no, it's like no, just
Do you know when I was in?
one of these.
So one thing, I went to college for business, and I remember this like econ professor, like economy professor. He literally was just like, strong handshakes are important for business. And like we had like a whole lesson on handshakes, and we had to do like a bunch of like strong, firm handshakes and like eye contact and all that stuff. And that just like, I don't even like to make eye contact with people, let alone touch them, grab their hands. No.
I do it enough for cheers. Like when it's cheers and like you have to make eye contact, there's nothing more awkward than cheers.
As I know.
And then because I was in a business meeting, I was in a huge business meeting for our catering with a big hotel chain, and it was like it's a huge contract, and I had to shake hands. And that's when in my head I was like, you just gave a wet noodle. Like just like thing actually that happened with the same client. And thankfully she found me charming. Okay.
Yeah.
She had to come into our kitchen and she was like trying things, whatever. And she wanted to see the kitchen before we confirmed everything, which is standard for like a big contract like this. Anyway, she comes in and she like put her hand out, but she did it in a way that she was kind of angled. So I thought she was hugging me. So I hugged her. And she was like, oh, and she's like going for a hug. And then instantly I was like, oh my God, you dumbass. Like she wasn't trying to hug you. She was just put her hands out. So I was just like, I'm a hugger. But then yesterday when I saw her, she gave me a hug. And
Okay.
Okay, whatever. We're good. We're good. But
you're on hugging level.
Like God, I was like, I'm just not.
She went to shake her hand. Like, get in here. Get in here.
Here. Oh man. Okay, so my highlight would be that today is Sterling, his very first gymnastics competition in the city. So it's a huge deal. He's been working hard for this, and I get to be like a gymnastics mom. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna be. Like, am I gonna be like a stage one? You know, is it gonna be? I get to see like all the other parents in comp mode, they call it. So I'm excited to see the dynamic. Like, you know,
she's gonna be like Tanya Hardin's mom.
Thank you. Yes.
Get yourself a parrot.
My moment. Like, I'm gonna be like, I'm ready for it.
Get yourself a parrot.
What? You know, I used to have a talking bird.
Yeah, I did too.
Grew up with a talking bird, an umbrella cockatoo.
Really?
Umbrella cockatoo. Mm-hmm.
So did I. I had a cockatoo too.
Was it white and yellow?
Yeah, and gray.
Oh,
yeah.
What was your bird's name?
Bill.
Mine was Mickey.
Well, and I grew up in a bit of a chaotic household of sorts. And so Bill had a very foul mouth.
How do we not piece this together? Bill and Mickey. My neighbor one time was about to call the police on my mom because we kept the bird upstairs and then we had to put it downstairs after my brother was born. And one day it was like squawking so loudly that the neighbor thought my mom was like abusing my brother. And what happened was my mom was outside. We were all outside. And then my neighbor heard the noise. And my neighbor was like looking around and then like kind of looked at my mom. And my mom was like, oh, that's our bird. So like the neighbor came in, fell in love with the bird, and it was a whole thing. But yeah, she was like going to call like the police or like child services on me.
Yeah. Well, I had Bill out one day and probably didn't have his like wings clipped as much as they should have been. And my neighbor, again, involving the neighbor, comes over and he like opens up the front room door, like the door. And we're like, close the door, the bird's out. Close the door, the bird's out. He's like, what? And then the bird flew out. And we lived kind of next to a golf course. And so we could never catch him. And he roamed around the golf course, just foul mouthing, just cussing everybody out.
Shut up.
Yes. He
really thing. So what, he just like went to the golf course, like took set up shop? Like,
Yeah, I just like because it was next to our house, so he lived in the trees, and he probably died over the winter, which is sad. But we never caught him.
oh
But there was reports of him cussing golfers out all the time.
my God, that is so funny. My bird ended up like he attacked my brother.
Oh,
So the bird, yeah, he attacked my brother one night and we had to get rid of him. And I'll never forget, my mom was like trying to run up the stairs with my brother, and like my brother was like 2. And so my mom's like running with him, but then Mickey like latched onto my brother's little finger. So he was like hanging on the finger, like and up and down. After like, we knew my brother was safe. I was dying laughing at like just like the bird. Anyways, so well then actually when I was in Australia, I went to this place once and I saw a whole bunch of them in the wild. I was
really?
like, man, it's really messed up to see them in the wild when I had one caged like
In the house? Yeah.
childhood. Yeah, like we had one in Bradford, Ontario. Like,
Having a bird is more than it's made out. It's a heavy task. They're a lot. But no, we have here in LA, we have a flock of wild parrots, and they're green, and they fly around LA County. Sometimes they'll be in Long Beach, sometimes they're in other parts of the city, and there's hundreds of them, and they're these green parrots. And in the garden, they flock to the garden, and because we have all these huge loquat trees, which are these little fruits, and so they like live on top of the fruit trees and pick all the fruit and stuff. And they're so loud whenever they come through. Like, it's obviously bad for the garden because it's like they're gonna mess up your shit. But like, it's so cool to see them like flying in the wild.
that is cool.
Yeah,
Well, R.I.P. Bill and Mickey.
they're in heaven together.
Call this podcast Bill and Mickey.
Bill and Mick.
That's all I'm calling you now, Bill. So my low light, I mean, I think we kind of nailed the low light at the beginning of our conversation. I would say, but there's still shit ton of snow. And okay, I got moon boots.
Moon boots.
Yeah, they're like these fun boots. They're called moon boots, and they're just like these giant. They look like cartoon boots.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted a pair, and I got a pair, and then I loved them. But the last day I was wearing them, they like fried my back. Like my back was so sore, and I was like, I hope it's not the boots. So here we go, another low light. What's yours? What do you got? What's your highlight during this time?
Okay. Well, I did want to say too, like with our theme of, talking about positivity and overcoming things, whatever. I was thinking too, like our highlights are very much like us showing gratitude, and our lowlights are like we're giving gratitude, but sometimes you gotta bitch a little,
Yeah, bitch. It's a release. We gotta vent.
You gotta release stuff. And some people are like, there's positive, but sometimes you gotta bitch a little too.
I think that's part of toxic positivity, because sometimes I think that it's important to admit when something sucks and accept it.
Exactly. And I think, okay, so my highlight is, so one, she's back in the garden, and it's just like, I love that I have this. It's a place of peace and relaxation. And this sounds crazy, but I think I got like a sign. So my grandfather was a farmer. He was very much into agriculture. He worked with cattle and all sorts of different things throughout his life. And my family has a long legacy of farming. And so he passed a few years ago. And when I was in the process of getting my garden at this place, I had to do a lot of volunteer hours before and like improve myself and build up to it to where I could go on the waiting list. And one day I was there pulling weeds in this aisle, and this monarch butterfly just flies down, and it was sitting right on this like edge of this fence and just watched me pulling the weeds and working in the dirt for like a long time. Like, it was weird. I'm like, this butterfly is just watching me. And I just got this feeling. I was like, oh my God, that's my grandfather, I feel like, just watching me. And then, so I go to the garden this week. And mind you, I've kind of like abandoned the garden a little bit over the winter. And it just like, things got out of control. I didn't have time. It was just a mess. And so I'm there and I'm like saying hi to everybody. I'm coming up to the garden and I'm so excited to be there. I'm like getting enthusiastic about it. And we're about to grow all these vegetables, all these food. We're so thankful, so much gratitude for having this. Like, I'm so excited. And all of a sudden, a monarch butterfly flies right in front of me and then up the hillside towards my garden plot. Oh, I forgot to say, when the monarch butterfly was sitting and watching me is where my now plot is.
Wow.
So that was what I'm saying. That was definitely a sign, because where the monarch butterfly was hanging out is my now fence to my garden. So that's why I was like, okay, that was totally him. And then to see this monarch butterfly this week fly in front of me and then up the hill towards my garden, it is January. They're not here. They're in southern Mexico. Why was this monarch butterfly there? It was the weirdest situation. So I was like, that's the sign right there. And then the guy that I was saying he come over, he gave me like a really good pep talk right after that happened. So that was definitely my gratitude for that, my highlight. My low light is...
They too.
Oh, sorry.
Well, they say too, they're like, if you receive some sort of sign like that, or something happens and you think of a specific person, if you're like for me, if I'm like, oh my God, that's my dad, or oh my God, that's my Nana. It's like, if you think something is being that person, it's them. Like,
yeah, I totally believe that.
Me too.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes I know like who it is. It is a weird feeling like that. And I think you got to be open to it, you know? But my low light is girl, the hormonal journey that I have been on this week. starting with, okay, I had to, because now I have to inject myself with the estrogen. And it's a whole reason, because it bypasses the liver. It's healthier in the body. It's stronger. I have to take less meds for it. I don't have to take a testosterone blocker. It's just easy to just inject myself. Well, so I have to go to the doctor's office to learn how to do it, and I have to do it on myself. I give myself the injection, and then I faint. Like, and I didn't fully faint this time, but I could feel it coming. And the doctor's like, oh no, like glides me back into a laying position. I had to hang.
Sends me a photo. She sends me a photo with no context, and it's just her kind of like passed out. Like, you can tell looking at her, it's like she's sick or something's wrong. And beside her, there's just like a little thing of juice and cookies. And I'm like, what just happened? And she's like, I fainted. Which I was so jealous. I've always wanted to faint.
No, it's not okay, because I faint a good bit, and it's annoying, but it's always involving needles. Like, if they're taking blood from me and it's like the first time, I'm fine. And I'm not scared of it. I don't feel it at all. I don't really care. I'm kind of into it. And so, and I'm very involved in the blood taking process. Like, I'm like, oh, you got it. Oh, you're good at that. Like, I'm really into the phlebotomy of it all. Yeah. Like, I'm not scared or worried. And so, but if they go in if they miss first or second time, they go in for the third, I'm on the floor. On the floor.
I've never been scared like that, but I've always wanted to faint. Like, I was that kid in school that, like, whenever something would happen, I'd be like, I just wanted to have like a big, like, dramatic moment where I fainted.
I fainted when I was in high school. I think there was a medication. I don't know why, but I fainted multiple times in high school. Like, one time I was in the lunch line and I had my lunch.
Prime time to do it.
I know. I was in the lunch line and I had my little like lunch tray, and I was in the line, and I just like went down, and I took like several people down with me, and food went everywhere. And I got in so much trouble because they said I did it on purpose. And then no, I just passed out. Another time I was like going up the steps of like the bleachers, like at the basketball court or whatever, went down, just collapsed.
Oh my God. Was the whole school there? Did they all see?
Yeah, but it was always like people were just like mad at me and like thinking I did it on purpose.
See, that's an indication of what a little shit you were, because like if you were like a good kid who never stirred the pot, who never whatever, and you fainted, they'd all be like, oh my God, Kyle. But it's like, you're like a little shit disturber a little bit. Then it's like, hey, what did you do?
No, I was just the weirdo.
Tuition.
I was just the weirdo. And they're like, oh, great, the weirdo's falling.
Was it?
What?
Aw. The weirdo was falling. Stop.
I'm glad my trauma's funny to you.
It's just because I'm jealous.
I know.
I wanted to faint. I always wanted it.
Yeah.
Even when I like had my eating disorder, and I'd have moments where I was like a little bit like, like so lethargic and tired, I'd be like, oh my God, it's happening. Never did.
Yeah.
Never did. You want to see? Picking girls never get picked.
I understand the appeal, but I will just say it's not that fun. Because it's like you're very vulnerable, you know, like it's just like I had one time I was at a health clinic with no insurance. I had to go there. And the guy taking my blood said some very perverse things to me, like made me so uncomfortable, and then kept missing the vein. And eventually I fainted and I came to like in his arms, like he was literally like holding me up after I felt so uncomfortable by him. Like, and it was just like such an, like you're just very vulnerable because it's not like you faint and then you get right back up. You know what I mean? It takes, you're out of it for a minute.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh my God, now I'm in everyone's way. I'm just passed out here. Or you're like, I can't drive. I can't.
I'd milk every minute. Like, sorry, you have to go around me. I fainted. Sorry, what? Where's my cookie? Juice? What?
When I used to get Botox, they did have to have extra people in the room, and they would have chocolate and like beverages waiting.
See, that's smart. That's smart. Never get it. I'm gonna go on and be like, you know what? Just want to let you guys know I faint. So you want to have some snacks and chocolate on hand, because I can't guarantee I'm not going to.
Yes. So now the low light is the hormonal crazy and wild. It started out with me fainting or almost fainting. And then Kris says the funniest thing to me. She said, oh my God, you're going to be giving yourself this injection and you're going to pass out. And it's just like your roommate's going to find you passed out with needles around you and think you OD'd. Which is
like, I was going to get and just you like on your bed, like just like, and then pass out trans like a needle and be like, what? And it's like, no, man, just oh my God, that is so funny.
Yeah,
that's like the one time. We'll finish with this. The one time, did you ever have those candles that you burn and it has like the little gem inside? And you unwrap it, it's like jewelry or what, a charm.
Yes, I did a whole
campaign
for them multiple times.
Okay, I thought they were so much fun. And Michael, when we first started dating, he got me a couple. And so when we first moved in together, we were in a basement apartment and we're kind of just doing like a trial time, whatever. And my charm thing was ready, so I took it out and it was tinfoil, right? So Michael's holding the candle. I have a spoon because I'm digging out the tin foil, right?
Yeah.
We had to just light it to melt it down a bit. So we have a lighter, we have tin foil, and we have a spoon. And we're all kind of like, we're set up. I'm kind of like leaning over Michael and we're like, our landlord is outside right now. Like if they look inside this window right now, it is going to look like a full-on like heroin scene or something. Literally me just trying to get my like $5 ring. Oh, well, guys, I think that's it today. I don't really have much else to say. Just know you're loved, you're supported. You can always reach out to me and Kyle if you need any resources. If you need anything, we're here for you. You're not alone, you're loved, and that's it for me.
Yeah, so we're not going to get into any of the topics.
No, we don't have time.
No.
We don't have time.
Well, next week we're going to be talking about boundaries.
Boundaries. And I've set them. How to determine when they need to be set.
Yeah, and just everything. And I think, too, here's the thing, too. We're not going to get just into boundaries, because I think boundaries is such a key word, but I really want to break it down into realistic terms of boundaries and what that actually means, and not just such a like a key phrase word, you know, that's like because it is one of those like triggering words. It's like gaslighting or something like that, where it's used a lot, but it's like, what is the real life implication of this?
Exactly.
So we're really going to break that down in such a realistic, fun way. But I think this episode was needed. I think it was fun. I think that we really got into what's going on with not just us, but all our viewers, all our people. I know looking at our statistics, we have viewers in Canada, US, Mexico, Europe, Australia. So we are a very multicultural podcast. of the world. And so I think that was great to kind of break it down from our perspectives, especially us being in two different countries that are at odds at the moment. And then we really just had some slap silly, like fun. Like we kind of laughed at some stuff, but we laughed through the pain.
We laugh. That's it, right? Like just keep on trucking.
Yes.
Paint that face on, get up and get going. That's it. Gotta keep forward.
Pushing forward. Yes. That's my thing too. They're gonna I'm gonna be trying to flee as a trans person. I'm just gonna pass out just poop in the airport. She's trying to climb the wall out and face.
Man.
Well, that's the episode.
That's it, guys. See you next week.
Okay, bye.